Alright, so this video is going to be about aim, as you guys requested. So the first thing about aim is that you need to make sure that you have a good flow with your mouse. By flow, I mean like if like I guess how good you can track your mouse. That's basically what flow is. So like as you can see, like as I'm jumping around or whatever, I have my cursor always on the sky. I have a good flow. Like if he were to move around, like my mouse still being on him, like wouldn't be a problem at all. Right? As you can see, I'm jumping around. I still have my mouse dead on him, aiming at his torso, chest, whatever you want to call it. Right? So first things first, what you should do is, if you have a gaming mouse like I do, right, you could go to your settings for your mouse, right? You could just play around with your DPI. I have mine currently to 250, right? If that's too fast for you or too slow for you still, obviously change that around. Or what you could do is, if you don't have a gaming mouse, you go to mouse, additional settings, pointer options, play around with this. The default one is right here, 6, but I put mine to 5 because, well, this one just works best for me, right? Camera sensitivity doesn't really matter, it's just like how fast you want to move around your camera. But anyway, so since I found my perfect mouse sensitivity, let's go back to flow now. Like for example, to test out if you like this mouse sensitivity, what you could do is, let's say, okay, I'm going to the right, right? So I'm gonna go to the right. As you can see, like my mouse goes off my enemy. This is kind of a like really stupid idea, but it's basically how I'm going to demonstrate this. But as I go to the right, I'm going to aim my mouse to the left. I'm walking to the left now, aim my mouse to the right, walk to the right, aim my mouse to the left, walk to the right, walk to the left, my mouse to the right, right, left, left, right, right. So that's basically a good way of how to test your mouse sensitivity or your flow, I suppose, right? And if I were to jump up, aim my mouse down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. I don't know why my mouse is glitching out right now, probably because I'm recording. But anyway, yeah, it's basically just like run around, I guess, with your character and just try and focus your mouse on this one target. Make sure that you have good control of it, right? So in a real situation, if this target were to move around, right, you would basically practice, like this kind of practice would basically give you a good idea of how to not only, I guess, dodge, but also how to keep your mouse dead on your target, right? So anyway, let me get to some LQC tips, right? So for LQC, what I tend to do is, so obviously a lot of people, they kind of aim their camera out a little bit, and they aim. I don't have a problem with this. I mean, for some guns, like for SMGs for example, these are very good. Like it doesn't really matter because it has great aim, right? But the thing is, if I were to kind of zoom out a little bit, right, it would kind of make it harder for me to aim at my enemy. Sorry for that. It's 12 o'clock, so I kind of want to speak very low because my relatives are sleeping. Anyway, like sure, it seems that like he's dead on my cursor, right? But at the same time, like when you're just moving around or whatever, like even though he's like fits in my cursor, if you're jumping around and stuff, you basically have to aim at the center of your mouse, which is kind of really hard, and it kind of strains your eyes for a little bit, right? So what I normally do is I kind of zoom in like all the way a little bit, or very close, right? As you can see, he's a lot bigger now. He's more magnified, as you can see. And if I were to aim at him with the center of my mouse, the blue dot, right, I would have a lot more places to aim at. I could see where I want to shoot, right? It'd be a lot easier compared to if I was zoomed out, where he's kind of a little bit smaller, right? So the bigger he is, the more shots I could see and probably land. Another tip that I want to recommend is for LQC, right? Let me go over here, hold on, for LQC. Oh shit, I think I did the wrong example. My bad. So anyway, back to that previous example, right? If I were zoomed out, right? SMGs, it wouldn't be a problem, I suppose, but I still do it with SMGs. But anyway, if you zoom out, right, it's going to be a lot harder for you to aim at him, especially if he's moving around, because you won't have to aim at the blue dot, blah, 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 blah. Zoom in a little bit more, right, and boom, he's a lot bigger. You have a lot of, you see him a lot, you see him more clearly, right? You can aim, right, hit those shots, right? Um, Actually, hold on, let me give you one more tip. What I normally do is I try and I aim to like the side. Like if I were to shoot someone from this angle, I don't normally like to shoot straight. What I do is I kind of lean my camera a little bit, right? So that way I like this entire side of my screen. I could use that just shooting my enemy, right? And if someone were to rush up from Zig, for example, I don't need to like turn my camera and look at him because my camera's already there. So I kind of tilt my camera a little bit this way because not, oh, what the fuck, anyway, because not only does it, like statistically, it also lands more shots for you if you do like tilt your camera like this, for example. You do land more shots, and compared to like, what the fuck, bro, sorry, like if you were to like just look at him straight, you would kind of, I mean, it doesn't really make a difference, but statistically you do land more shots if you're looking at him sideways. Anyway, let's go back to CQC. Oh wait, actually, one more tip. Sorry about that. For LQC, right, the most important thing is that since he's very small, right, if he were to walk, right, he would be moving like, since he looks like an ant, if he were to move, like by default, right, everyone has 16 walk speed in game, but if he were to walk, it would be very slow since he's very far away. So for LQC, I always recommend that you grip your mouse like very tightly, right? And you try not to move your cursor like that much. Like if you like, you could move it, but very minimally, because since he's far away and he's moving from your distance, he's moving very slowly. You don't have to like aim like all over the place like how you would in CQC. So I try and I keep my cursor still, like, and I move it very minimally. Like if I were to move it, it would only be around like here, 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 whatever, compared to like MQC, right? So if I were to shoot, try and keep my cursor still, always aiming at where he is, obviously, but I don't have to move my mouse that much because from my distance, again, he's not moving that much, right? Compared to MQC, right? What I normally do is I kind of loosen up my grip a little bit. I mean, I still have my grip, obviously, for control, but just loosen it up a lot more because obviously since I'm closer to him now, he's gonna be moving at at this distance. He's going to be moving the same speed as I am, 16 walk speed. So he's gonna be all over the place. He's gonna be running here, there, whatever. So if I try and keep my mouse still, like how I wanted to try at LQC, I'm going to die because obviously I would be too slow for him. For NQC and CQC, you always want to have great reflexes because since you guys are going to have, it's going to be a very fast-paced environment compared to LQC, you always want to make sure your mouse, you still have control of your mouse, you have grip on it, but not that much compared to LQC, but you always want to make sure that your cursor is always on him, right? It's going to be a lot harder, again, for MQC and CQC because you have like the same walk speed. But the thing is, for CQC, right, if you're like right next to him, right, and you're just like walking like all over the place or whatever, it doesn't seem like 16 walk speed. It seems like a lot more because I guess the intensity and like, you know, you both are like, it just both like jumping around, whatever. So it's not gonna feel like 16 walk speed. It's probably gonna feel like 20 walk speed because you guys are just right next to each other. You're fighting it out, right? So for CQC, I normally loosen up my grip, right? And I normally zoom out a lot more so that way I could, you know, that way I could obviously see my enemy, right? Um, so yeah, for CQC, I normally just loosen up my grip, right? And I'm just controlling my mouse on him. Sometimes for CQC, what I would do is I would hold down right click and I would hold down my left click to shoot him. Because sometimes, like if you're in like a very tight environment, like for example, like right here, um, let's see, like if you're in a very like close environment and your camera, like obviously, like let's say for example, I can't zoom out, right? I mean, if I were to zoom out and he's hiding like right here, if I were to zoom out, obviously it would be pointless because if I zoom back in, I mean, if I angle my camera in, you know, it's gonna shrink. So let's say, can I push this guy? Yeah, I can. All right. So let's say I'm pushing him, right? What I would do is I would quickly turn my camera, right? And then I would hold down right click and left click, and I would like, since he would be jumping all over the place, I don't always do this, but this is just another tip for CQC. Like I would hold down my right click and my left click, and I would just jump around with him. Like it doesn't always work. It just depends on the like how like tight the situation is, like in terms of like camera, like in terms of like a camera movement. But most of the times for CQC, I just aim my camera uh, to my feet, right? And I'm just aiming. I always prefer that you aim your camera at your foot because it just gives you a better visu. It just gives you a better angle again on your enemy. Remember for LQC how I recommend that you tilted your camera? Well, for CQC, the best thing to do is tilt your camera to your foot and you just aim at your enemy. Or if I were to do it for my right side, aim for my right foot and then just finish him off. What else should I recommend? Oh yeah, hold on. One thing that I do recommend is that you guys check out this website. It's really good for boosting. I mean, just I guess practicing your reflexes with your aim. It's called Aim Booster, right? Just go to Aim Booster. You go to Training, Speed. You can set it however you want. I put infinite lives because obviously I'm here for training. You could decrease the target size if you want. Like for example, let's say 20, right? Alright, just from like the beginning, it starts off very slow, but as you progress through time, it does get a lot faster, forcing you to um, focus on actually like moving around your mouse, like 1, 2, right? So just keep on playing around with this website. A lot of pro gun fighters use it. Um, yeah, that would be it, I guess. Uh, It's all like honestly, dude, for aiming, it's primarily angles and your aim. Like, but it's more importantly on angles because if I were to shoot this guy from like, let's say above my head, for example, actually no, let's compare it like this, right? If I were to shoot at this guy from bird's eye view, right, that would be stupid. It would be hard, and I'd probably die. But if I were to aim at him with my foot, obviously, if he jumped up, I could shoot him. If he goes to the right, I mean to the left, I could shoot him, right? He just looks so much of a bigger target compared to if I were to do it like this. Like obviously this is still a good method, right? But it's just like a lot difficult, and you land more shots obviously with your foot from your foot. Like I'm not trying to trash your angles, but the better angle you have, the more shots you're gonna land.